Welcome to Reliability Matters, a podcast for the electronic assembly industry. Each episode covers topics related to reliability, best practices, and environmentally responsible assembly techniques, with insights from experts across the electronic assembly industry. Now, here's your host, Mike Conrad.
Well, welcome back to a very different type of Reliability Matters episode. I'm not in my normal studio. I am in San Diego, California, at the IPC Apex Expo, where I was invited by my good friend and colleague, Trevor Galbraith from Global SMT, to take over his booth and produce a few very short episodes. So these are little express episodes. I have 4 guests today. Each interview will be about, or each conversation will be about 10 minutes long. So this is just a little tapas bar. It's a little appetizer of subjects that we hope to dive into in just a little bit. My guest today now is Greg Papandrew. Greg, welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to see you again.
Yes, again.
I'm used to seeing you in pixel form, so it's
2D.
nice to see you in organic form.
Yes, 3D is nice.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you being here. You and I are working on a project with SMTA. I chair their training committee, and we're doing a new 101 training course on board fabrication.
Yes.
We're not teaching people how to fabricate a board.
No,
that is not the goal.
Right. No, when you gave me the call, it was really refreshing to hear that because, we teach everything. You go into a contract manufacturer, an OEM company, you have everything on the wall, awards and training on how to solder a board, how to package a board, how to clean a board, how to do everything with a board, inspect a board, but not how to buy a board.
Right.
And the circuit board represents 8 to 12% of the bill of material. One of the most expensive parts of the bill of material, the price is subjective, meaning depending on where you go, how many you buy, the technology, the price is different. And there is found money to be had. The circuit board is unfortunately is the last thing ordered, but the first thing needed. And a lot of it's done on a rush. And if a buyer is trained to know what they're doing, they're going to save their company a lot of money, and especially during the quoting process, because a lot of buyers today are not only buying what they need for today, but they're also quoting, and they're quoting like crazy. And you've got a big chunk of money there that if you quote incorrectly, you may not be getting the job, so you're wasting your time, or you quote incorrectly, and when the job comes in, oh, the board's not $2? Oh, it's IPC 6012 Class 3. Now it's a $5 board. Oh, I can't take this offshore. And, well, guess what? Now you
all over again.
Yeah, and then sales is scrambling because your company just made a commitment. So the importance of training, so right now, like I said, I find buyers today are either, untrained, overwhelmed, or management is not giving them the support necessary to give them that incentive. Hey, what can we do to save money? Because even on existing jobs, where you talk about quality being job one or continuous improvement in engineering, there's not someone going out on the floor and saying, why are we buying this board from this particular house still? It's not a quick turn anymore. Let's see what else we can do. Let's learn how we can leverage our spend, and this is for both domestic and offshore, military, high tech, whatever. And a lot of buyers don't know how to do that.
Right. And, when you think about the bare board, it's the foundation, literally the foundation to which the product is going to be made. It's going to be built on, and then that product is going to go into something, and that something has to function, right?
Correct.
So it is probably the most important basic part of any electronic assembly is the board it's built up on. And in many cases, my experience is it's treated like a commodity. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it's just whoever can build this board for a fraction of a cent a piece lower,
Correct.
gets the order.
Correct.
And since the reality is obviously not all, most of the suppliers of bare boards are offshore,
Right.
off our shore.
Mm-hmm.
The buyer is never going to see the production facility. They're never going to be able to legitimize it in their head.
Of course.
They're relying on a lot of promises from a lot of either brokers or salespeople and all of that, right?
Well, no, you make a very good point because even domestically, unfortunately, a lot of buyers today have never been inside of a board house. And sure, traveling overseas costs a lot of money, but a lot of people have not gone to the next state to actually see what's gone on in the board house to get appreciation of what goes into making a board, to make those value judgments of why, hey, I just pulled up to the shop and, oh my gosh, now I know why our board's so cheap or why we have this quality problem. So there's not, and that's, to be fair, they have nothing to compare it to. And even going offshore, it's funny, is people think they're dealing direct. They don't know. They might be dealing with an actual broker over there. So, yes, it might be someone with a Chinese address and everything looks, but it's not actually a real board house. So, are they getting the value that they need?
It might be a guy that has a guy.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And so, there's a lot of, even domestically, we have a large military type board house here. There are one company buys from 3 or 4 different divisions because they have to. But they don't question how they buy. They don't question, hey, look, yeah, I know we deal with 4 divisions, but we represent this much of your business. And we want to have quality board reviews. There's not a demand from buyers because they don't know what they can do and the power they have with managing their vendor base and giving them the quality that they need. And yes, of course, price plays part in part, but at the same time, it's not everything.
Right.
Because when it comes right down to it, I remember I lost a job of a mere 20 cents, and on 1,000 pieces, okay, it's $200, and I knew the promise that was made was not being kept, and I warned the buyer about that. Well, at the end of the month, the product did not come in, and I said, "Ooh, for $200, wouldn't you like to have made your month?" And that's what it comes down to.
Right.
It's the value knowing that you can rely on a vendor, whether domestically or offshore, and a lot of buyers don't know. I don't think they have the time or understand what's need to be done, and they treat it like a commodity.
Right.
It's a custom-made item with over 100 different processes to make. It's not if, but when a problem will happen.
Right. You hear a lot about counterfeit, particularly in the days of component shortages and supply chain issues. That's really incentivizing the counterfeit market. And we think of counterfeit in components. Is there an equivalent of that in circuit boards? Maybe not counterfeit per se, but maybe not made to the standards or with the materials that.
Oh, yes. Basically, what it comes
you would
right
have really no way of knowing unless you did some metrology studies on the board.
Right. What it'll come right down to is basically material, the base material. Is there, the mark in there? Is there, do you have a CFC that actually shows where the material came from? That's the kind of thing where you'd wonder about, okay, is the material there? Yes, there is chemistry. Did they do what's proper for proper whole wall, build up the vias, things like that. But the main thing for a counterfeiting would be, is the material that we ordered being used? Is it the 170 T sub G, as opposed to 150? They slide that in. Would it work? Yeah, probably, but that's not what you requested.
Right.
And, and that's just it. You've got the, we just had that conversation today, we want something down and dirty. Well, you're going to get down and dirty.
Down and dirty FR4, nothing special.
Oh gosh, right. And but it's got to survive all these things. Well, that's not down and dirty FR4. You got to learn. And that's another thing about buying is maybe there are boards that you have a combination of it for as a contract manufacturer that can be down and dirty, and other boards that sorry, we can't do that on that. And so you're not building a Porsche when a Ford could get you there just as well.
Right.
And that's, there's nothing wrong with down and dirty FR4. It just depends upon the product.
If the product is a down and dirty product, right?
Yes, but what's the end
short
use?
Obsolescence, a quick obsolescence time, and maybe a little planned obsolescence, maybe a throwaway consumer part.
Well, and at the same time, that's where I think buyers don't know how to use their vendors or their sales reps, because sales reps don't know. Is I always ask my customer, what is this going into? Or if I see something strange, what is this going? Because what I'm asking that for is because, I'm anticipating there might be a problem. When someone comes down to, what is it going to? Oh, it's this? Oh, okay, fine. And by knowing that, I can understand. Or when someone's calling out this spec, what is this going into? Do you really need that?
Right.
And they're like, well, this is our standard. Well, your standard's costing you a lot more money than it has to.
Right.
So
that makes sense. Before we end, we have to move on. I want to show this book right here. Summer, if you can get a shot of that. PCB Basics for Buyers, authored by the one and only Greg Papandrew. Tell me what this book is about. It's a healthy book with lots of illustrations and
yeah. Right.
huge glossary at the end.
Well,
Sorry, my mic dripped off.
you get,
It's a pretty impressive book.
yeah, you go to directpcb.com to get your free copy, and it's color and everything else as well. Or if you want, I'll send you an autographed copy, and that $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But the fact is it's a great tool for most buyers to have. Anyone from receiving to reception, just enough so you understand what a board is, glossary terms, so to give that untrained buyer just a little bit of an edge of what's going on and what to ask for and look for a quote.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I'll have another book called Buying Boards Like a Boss, and it actually gets into basically how you can do your job better. And give that
What I appreciate about you and your company is this book is not filled with if you want good boards, call Greg. There's really no sales pitches in this book. This is really a guide, no matter whether they use you or a million other people out there. This is a guide to how to buy boards smart.
Correct.
And it's not a sales pitch of any kind. So that's impressive.
No, well, yeah. I was going to say.
Well, the fact that you wrote it, obviously.
Well, no,
I
wrote it.
Cred, right?
Yes, right.
So you get the street cred part of it, but it's a safe book to read.
Yes,
if you're not going to find out the answer to every problem is 1-800-CALL-GREG.
That's
right?
correct.
So,
no, it's not that at all.
Right. All right. Well, Greg, once again, great talking to you.
Yeah.
And thanks for being on the show.
All right.